Good morning. You may recognize me from funny Emacs video number 27 or me rambling to myself in the car. So this is a video on what I've learned in 2024. I was just kind of journaling about it, and then I realized that this is pretty useful, and I realized I should probably share it. And there's some good points in here. I'm going to try not to ramble and try not to take up too much of your time. There's actually chapters here. I encourage you to, whoops, there we go. I encourage you to jump around. Please don't waste your time. So, the executive summary, the good news, we live in a time of unprecedented access to information and effort-enhancing technology, and the bad news is all of that is completely offset by literally billions of dollars in worldwide corporations and the pinnacle of technology. So we are in this attack phase. We're being attacked. We're being actively distracted. We're being turned away from what our goals are, what we want to do, what we want to accomplish. And that's something that we have to do voluntarily, actually, because that is something that I'm not sure why. It's some kind of spiritual thing, I think, but they have to make you decide. They can't force you to do it. They have to trick you. They have to make you think you need to do it. So just decide not to decide. Just flee temptation. Run away from it. Escape it. That's kind of the theme of the year, is not doing the things that everyone else is doing and that people who do not have my best interest at heart want me to do and want me to engage in. Just refusing to suck in, avoiding all of the drama, avoiding all this nonsense, and then spending time on the important things, like Emacs. The other thing about this is not jumping to new things. This is kind of an anti-consumerist thing, but don't jump to a new thing thinking it's going to solve all your problems. Try to focus on what you have now and expand what you have available to you. Or I'm sorry, expand your knowledge in what you already have. I think I have that mastery. Mastery is the whole point. That's the idea. So that's kind of the whole thing. This is the TLDR. This year was about slowing down, being selectively inefficient, and developing long-time preference and mastering what I already have. And you probably already have everything you need. Just don't buy the hype. Don't buy new stuff just because you think it's going to fix problems that are in here, not out there. But again, these are problems that are billions of dollars are being spent to make these problems worse for you. So refuse. And follow my example here for what I've done for this year. So let's start with journaling. So journaling has been a big game changer for me in my life. Oh, I'm sorry. For the intro here, this was a really good quote from a, blog post that a Substack. Sorry, it's not a blog post anymore. It's a Substack. I wouldn't recommend reading this. It's called Pygmalion and the Anime Girl. I would recommend skimming it. It is literally too long. It's really good. It's just literally too long. It is a slog. It's very interesting. Still a slog. But this was kind of a main takeaway here. Community itself has become a commodity. Emotions and experiences are designed, packaged, marketed, and sold as consumable products. Casual human interactions have been monetized and paywalled. Casual human interactions, right? Think about that. And there is a fundamental absence of meaning. And that is true. Extremely true. Uncomfortably true. All right, so let's get back to journaling here. So journaling, first thing you'll note, I'm using Obsidian. I don't actually get the benefit of Obsidian. I don't use the backlinks very much. I'm figuring out how to use it, but just as a fancy markdown thing, most of my text editing is still done in Emacs, but for cool markdown, it works pretty well. Journaling, why journal? So this year I started journaling. And that has been a very significant change in my life for a number of reasons. The most primary one is reflection, being able to step out of the mental state that you're in and evaluate the things that happened with a little bit of, hindsight, being able to look back and think about things. Or, if you're hot under the collar at that time, or if you're really annoyed at that time, or if you're just not in the mood at that time, really tired, you don't know. all of this stuff, you can step out of it and then look at it again, reflect on yourself. This is a higher level, higher order of thinking, is being able to step out of yourself and think about yourself. And then you can step out of yourself and step out of your thinking of yourself and think whether or not you're thinking about yourself correctly. There's levels there, there's layers there, but the most important thing is to stop and pause and take time. And I would almost recommend handwriting, just because it will slow you down. It'll take more time and it'll require more of your focus. I frankly just type too fast, and maybe too fast. I frankly type fast enough that it's like I'm just gonna type it. I'm just gonna type it. I don't want to handwrite it. I might try it in the future, but I would recommend handwriting if you can. The point is just to stop and slow down and to focus hard on a single topic. That's one of the other topics up here, is just building the focus up, getting to a point where you can turn off your brain to other things, to hard focus on one thing. Unitasking, I guess you could say. That's one of the other things. Any of this writing will make you think. It forces you to think. And forcing you to think is exactly what they don't want you to do. They don't want you to slow down. They want you to be jumping from this topic to that topic to the next topic, so you don't even realize that the first thing was wrong and the second thing was in conflict with the first thing. It's the design of news. We'll get to this later. Amusing Ourselves to Death. Extremely powerful, extremely prescient book, written over 20 years ago, and it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I recommend it. So that's the goal. That's what we're trying to do, is escape this mess. That's a very important question. What can you learn from yourself? The idea is that you, by simply reflecting on yourself, by simply thinking about the events that already happened, you can pull out meaning just from yourself. You don't need someone else to talk to. You don't need someone else to look at this. Generally we've got my hand in here. Generally we've got something inside us that says that was a bad idea. And if we have a bunch of technology that's shoving us along so that we don't have time to think, hey, that was a bad idea, or hey, this isn't really serving my goals, it's just never going to happen. Think about that. Reflection, thinking about what you've done and whether or not it's the right thing to do, is just never going to happen. If you stay in this cycle, this crab bucket cycle, it's not going to happen. Okay. So take the time for yourself, learn from yourself, learn for yourself. But that's it for journaling. Highly recommended. You almost required. I'm going to say it's required. You are required. I'm going to be checking your work in another year. All right, so keyboarding. I frankly haven't done much with Signum. I've been very comfortable. I've said this before. This is my problem, is that I work to solve the problems that I have, and Signum reached a pretty medium point a while ago. I had a picture. I don't see it. Is it over here? It is. Okay. So this is all I've done, is I've taken the Signum and cut it in half with a hacksaw, because that's a totally normal thing for an engineer to do, right? And gave it this 3D printed stand to give it some tenting, and the tenting was pretty good. It was pretty interesting. I wound up lowering this. This was a little high, but I kind of don't like it. There's been more than a few things that I've tried with the Signum and abandoned, and this was one that I kind of couldn't unabandon. I guess I could just take it off the stand and then like glue it together. I don't know. Maybe I'll make a flat stand for it. I don't know. But the point is, it was interesting. I don't think it adds that much. I don't think it adds enough to justify splitting it, and to justify the lack of rigidity, the loss of the split. Yeah, the sacrifice rigidity and increased form factor. It's a bigger thing to handle. It's a little bit more fragile. I'm a little bit more worried about it, like swinging it around. Okay, we'll put that back. I'm gonna read my my Signal messages here. So I think it was flat better. I think it was better at flat while it was flat. Split, maybe. We'll get into that. This is great. But the Signum 3.1, meanwhile, I'm messing around with the Signum 3.0. The Signum 3.1 is just sitting here being flat, being awesome, with cherry reds and having nice paddles and everything, and I still haven't attached the bottom. These are just like my personal ones, so they're in various states of changing and tweaking. But it's hard. It's hard to change it when it's working so well. So that's good. It's frankly a good thing. I hope everyone is enjoying their Signi. July Mac, the July Mac change is pretty good. It's gotten natural. I don't run into problems, and I'm worried about speed, but I'm not really. It's just the speed is not what I changed for. That was not the goal, and I have to keep reminding myself, even though I'm a little salty about losing the speed. Comma dot for the escape sequence in Vim. That's kind of a Vim Emacs thing, but comma dot is to get out of insert mode. You press comma dot quickly instead of JK, because when you start switching to like Colmac or something like that, it has a different. Well, everything's different, and you can't really. The English bigrams are harder to find, so comma dot works extremely well, and works across QWERTY and Colmac, and I don't think it works on Dvorak, but maybe. Very useful, highly recommended. I wrote a blog post about it. It's comma dot. So the Corne is actually this, and this is Typeractive. Typeractive was really good. This was a very good website and very interactive. I know people have been talking about the Corne for a long time, and true to form, I spent multiple years go by, and then I'm like, I might try this. I had seen the Corne. I just really wanted to get away from the wires, and nothing in the wireless space impressed me. And when I started reading about this, the nice nano and the nice screen, and in the form factor of the Corne, I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic, and I had to get one. So I've got it. They're low profile switches. I kind of got the, I don't want to say the normie special, the most popular version. And aside from the 3D printed case, it's just so I can mess around with it, get the experience of it, mess around with the tactility. I did tweak some of these buttons so they're more tactile. You can feel them. I've obviously got the paddles on there. I don't even know if you can see that. Paddles covering that corner switch. So that's kind of the goal. Getting some low profile paddles that work and make those buttons more easier to reach. Let's see here. I've got some notes on it that I've been working on. Where am I? Good, extremely good. The experience, the typing experience is extremely good. The Kale low profile switches are inconsistent, but reliable enough that it's good enough. You're always making trade-offs. So when you have to decide if it's a good trade-off. This is a very good trade-off for the amount of mobility, I guess. Just the ability to toss it around, to put it over here, put it over there, put it on top of this book, because my desk is covered with stuff all the time, forever. But it was good. I didn't want the 3D print cover because the 3D print cover covers the sides, and I wanted to make my own sides and paddles and stuff like that. So I knew that if I got that, I wouldn't be able to do it. So this is my designs here for the paddles. I'll show those later on. It's actually a side cover as well. Wraps around the side and covers the end, because I never like seeing exposed LiPo batteries. I have experiences, bad experiences. So I've printed some stuff for ESD protection and things. I'll show you those in the 3D print section later on. I got the plate spacer. Yeah, the plate spacer is a little weird, but there's something I'm thinking about setting up for that, because there's the Kale low profile switches are so short between the plate mount point for a thicker plate, for a normal size plate, versus where it actually mounts on the PCB. I think there should be a spacer in between so that there's no flex in that spot, but that can be 3D printed pretty easily. They could also just be like rings that go around the switches. I don't know. Cornhole, yeah. Thumb spacer. the thumb hole. It always comes back to the thumb hole. I have not wanted to make this into a unibody. I have surprised myself. I'm making trade-offs. I'm accepting the limitations. So no, I haven't put this into one piece yet. I've been thinking about making little stands for it, but I'll just put I'll put a piece of wrist rest underneath it and just type with it like that with a very slight tilt. Very good hardware. Very, very good. Yeah, ZMK. So why now? Signum works really well. I wanted to shake it up. I know Corne was really popular. That's kind of why I got the popular version. And this ZMK was very interesting to me. And the new hardware based on the new chip was very interesting to me. So I was very, I really wanted to look into it. And I'm looking into it more now. And ZMK is very impressive. Yeah, so programming ZMK is strange. I understand what they were going for. I don't think it was appropriate for the target audience. But it is interesting. It is different, at least. It's kind of strange. It's a little weird. It's kind of very weird, actually. I understand what they were going for, but if you've got guys that are already programming their keyboards, they can build a development environment, even if it's a little annoying. Having it in the cloud has other implications. The wireless is so good. The wireless is fantastic. There are instances where if I get them too far apart, like about here, and I put stuff between them, where I'll type, and the right side, the left side is host, the right side is client. The right side, if I type on the right side, I'll get a delay where the left side puts the letter first, and then the right side comes afterwards, even if I typed on the right side first. There's also instances when it just first starts syncing, and that might depend on my Bluetooth adapter because I only have it on a problem on one computer, but that's the computer I use it most on, so I'm not sure. There are little things that come up every once in a while. I had to note it here, but I could have easily just skipped it. Like it's a wireless tool. It's gonna happen every once in a while, and this is so rare that I almost decided not to add it. So fantastic wireless, fantastic displays, fantastic battery life. Chef's kiss. Perfect. For what it is, perfect. I hadn't really thought about it, but it kind of is. It's impressive. You might want to put a little bit of Loctite on the screws, though. The screws will back out. Yeah, if I had to change it, I would add one palm key here. I might still do that. There's other things I might want to do with this very interesting hardware. But for now, it's perfect. I don't know. I can't say anything more than that. Emacs, the Emacs section. So this has been a big time of trying to improve my Emacsing instead of jumping to the next piece of software and saying, well, this one will solve my problems. Well, I'll jump over here and then I'll be able to do it. I want this moving around on here. There we go. We'll see Harold for a little bit. I don't want to jump to the next thing. I don't want to be unstable, let's say, just bouncing from this into that and winding up losing the knowledge that I've already learned. So whenever you switch tools, and this has been the last couple of years, have been years of tools being switched, people changing their licensing, corporations, publicly traded corporations that never made $1, never made a single bit of profit, changing their licensing agreements after being free, and then people going, oh no, I didn't expect this. So no, we're not going to jump ship. We're going to dance with the one we brung, and we're going to learn more about Emacs. And this can be equally applied. Yeah, this could be equally applied to Vim. Badly, but it can. NeoVim could do a lot with it in the scripting with whatever the scripting thing is now. Pretty good. Yeah, so anyways, try to improve what you already have. Don't jump ship, okay? We've got this weird Emacs tricks. I wound up learning abbreviations. I don't have that in here, but just typing, just the concept of typing. Obviously, I'm learning Colmac. I'm improving my typing speed. I'm practicing. I've got a different layout here, different keyboards that I use, and it's easy to make little typos and think, oh, I shouldn't make that little typo, but there's a lot of change going on with me. So why shouldn't I make THE or TEH automatically switch into THE? Why wouldn't I make that autocorrection? Um, once I decided to go ahead with the autocorrections, it got a lot easier. And then there's words like unfortunately, literally typing unfortunately is literally slower in every way than typing UNF comma. And you're never going to type UNF comma. It's literally better in every way. Why wouldn't you do that? Especially if you're going to live in Emacs or live in Vim, you should add those abbreviations so that when you type one thing, it expands. And then start building up those shortcuts in your head so that you can type long words or type sets of words and, all kinds of stuff. Abbreviations, don't shy away from the abbreviations. Just use them. Just use them. File paths. So there are a number of instances where in Emacs I'm putting all the stuff into Emacs because I'm working in Emacs. Most of my work is done in text and stuff that, stuff I'll write and put into an email or put into a browser. That is all just text. All of my method is text. So if I'm using Emacs, I'm using Emacs to facilitate transferring text or generate the correct text, and then put it in my clipboard so that I can pop over to the browser and paste it in. So that's kind of where we get into this. If I'm typing something up and I need to attach a file to something, and I know generally where that file is going to be, I'm going to, I just made a, it's just right here. It's right here. So this is just shareable PDFs. That's all it is. It's just a list, fuzzy finding list of PDFs that I can type in a little bit, and then have it come up. Got this with, so you can auto search. Let's do German. So yeah, so Swiss German, there's Swiss French German, and then there's regular German. And then for any of these, you can always open up an alternative thing. You could copy it to the clipboard or open the file directly. This is just using Helm. It's just using a fuzzy finder to make jumping to the correct place a lot easier. Also, if you've got different reports or different files that you frequently use in different locations, being able to just do fuzzy find, the command for that, it's not in this version, it's on the version at work, but being able to just hit space X and then type in share, or space X and type in nomin or something like that and hit enter, and then your file browser opens up with exactly where you need to be, so you can just drag and drop it in. Easy. And that's something that is like, we're trying to do little things. We're trying to focus small. So if you just need to jump around and open files or whatever, just reaching for the mouse, open that file path. Yeah, it's not very hard to go down and click on Explorer, click on the Z drive, click on the share, excuse me, click on the share, and then move over to wherever you need to go. But also, it's a lot faster to just type space X and then type something in and then hit enter, and then it opens up immediately. So just little things, automate small. Finding the right language, browse to ticket at point. Here's another simple one. All I'm doing is, if I'm writing something up and I've got a ticket number on my screen at my point of my Emacs cursor, I just hit a key combination, and then the browser opens to the help desk path, browses directly to that ticket so that I can look at it or make changes to it or do whatever I need to do with it. Again, not hard to just go to the browser, click on it, click to the help desk page, click to search, paste in the ticket number, hit OK, look at the search results, click on the search result, and then open the ticket. But like, why would I? Why would I do that? Why would I do that a dozen or 2 dozen times a day when I could just do one keystroke? So think small, think small. Another thing, just quick Emacs simple things, browsing to the URL. With the thesaurus, it'll prompt you, what is the thesaurus, what word, and then it'll browse, open a browser tab to whatever the thesaurus link is that you provided for it. Again, easy to just click on the browser, type in dictionary, browse there, click on the search box, type in the thing, but why? Why would you do it? So little things, focusing small, trying to optimize the little things. Browsers, I mentioned this before, just being able to drop in links. If I've got a browser with a bunch of tabs that are topical opened up, I can take all those links, put them into just each on a new line, and then run this. And once I run it, it opens up all the tabs again. So they're not taking up space. It's easy to jump around. Plus in org mode, I can just click on any one of these. If I can search through these and then go, oh yeah, that's the one, the MPLAB XC8 compiler. That's where I want to look. I want to read that PDF real quick. I'm so excited. Now that you're calling system, running system commands in order to open up, browse to different locations or open up browser tabs, you might as well run AutoHotkey scripts, because AutoHotkey scripts are extremely useful. The Linux equivalent to this, because most of this is all in Windows, optimizing my workflow there. But in Linux, it's xdo tool. Unless you're on Wayland, then it's a security risk for you to inject keystrokes into your session. That's illegal. So whatever. But definitely use AutoHotkey. Definitely use xdo tool. That's what I use for this. How I'm connecting a MIDI output into controlling the workspace through keystrokes. If you see the keystrokes down here. So that's just literally generating that output using xdo tool, Control Alt Super, and then a value. Very useful. Use AutoHotkey. Use AutoHotkey for little movements, and then use Emacs or Vim to kick off those little movements, and you can start building complexity. Opening a file path. I kind of talked about that. Emacs has been, so I've been reading Emacs books and trying to improve everything about Emacs. And Emacs has some things that I will say the text editing is better than Vim. And I'm just as surprised to learn that as you are. So there have been a number of things where I've said, this is inefficient in Vim, and I'm not going to do it in Vim, and Emacs is better. So some of those things were kind of specific. I'm probably going to write up a post about this. It's just interesting. It's just interesting that now that I'm paying more attention to it, I realize that modality has its shortcomings in editing situations. Yeah, directly in text editing situations. So it's interesting. But just consider the possibility that Vim could learn a few things from Emacs. The area codes, I kind of covered that. If I just put my cursor point on a area code and press a key switch, it opens up whatever, or it displays for me at the bottom of the screen in the mode line, the time zone and the current time at that location. It tells me what the location is. So that's very useful, very simple, something that I would, again, have to open a browser and search for whatever. Now it never happens again. Music control, I've been controlling music using EMMS in Emacs. It's kind of useful. It's also just kind of like, I should just use VLC Player. At work, I've switched to Windows 8. I'm sorry, Windows 8. Yeah, right. Windows 10. And Windows 10 has much better media controls. So I've been using those better with VLC, but it still gets a little fidgety sometimes. And having the music control directly in Vim, or in Emacs, see, look at that. While I'm sitting here Emacsing and just be like, I don't like this song, bam. And then it flips to a random song in the playlist is a lot better. Very nice. Report generation. So if you've got anything where you're filling in, even on spreadsheets or something like that, Emacs can help you preload that information. If a lot of it is similar, or, it just needs to be reformatted, basically I have Emacs ask me questions about what the output needs to be, what the state of the input is, I should say. And then I answer those questions, yes, no, write names or shorthand for whatever, and then hit enter. And then it copies everything into the clipboard. And then it says, paste, are you ready? And then I flip over to the spreadsheet, click in the cell, hit paste, and it pastes in everything. Tab separated, all the text I need, generated, perfect. Then I go back to Emacs and it says flip to the next. Are you done? Yes. Okay. And then it puts the next thing on the clipboard. Flip to the next tab. Go back to the spreadsheet. Next tab. Click in the spot. Paste. So Emacs is pre-filling my clipboard so that I can just paste all this stuff in, because there's a lot of retyping, especially in report generation. So it's there's no errors, basically. You can't make errors. And stuff that you might forget about, or stuff that you do like twice a year, that you might not be very familiar with, absolutely program it into Emacs. It'll ask you questions. Did you remember to do this? Oh, I forgot to do that. Or open the report file. Did you open the report file? No. Bam. Okay, it opens it up on the screen. There's a report file, and now work with it, make the changes, save it, quit, and then are you done? Yes. Now it goes to the next step. Just like a guided tour of the report generation, just so you don't forget. And then preloading your clipboard so you don't have to type, because typing leads to errors, and errors leads to anger, and anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering. All right, that's all I got for Emacs. I know you're all probably asleep. Oh yeah. Reading, generate the reports. I don't know why it says read. Oh, right, because I read a lot of Emacs books. And read and then do. I have Emacs books in the books section down below, but I didn't finish them. I'm just working through each chapter, and in some cases, like each page. I'll do a page and I'll add something and I'll be like, oh, I had no idea that Emacs could do that. And I'll test it out. I'll think about where I could apply it. And then I'll make a org mode reminder of what the keystroke is or what it is. And I did that with, I don't even know what it is. Org mode iMenu, I think. I just remember keystrokes now. So the idea that I have this spaced repetition, org mode's going to remind me. Do you remember how to do the thing I do? Meta X I do. I don't remember what it is. I just remember the keystrokes and like what shows up. So it'll ask me the question, once every 3 days. And then I'll hit org agenda. Like, oh yeah, I got to remember that. What was it? Okay, I remember now. And then I hit done. And then it resets for another 3 days to remind me. And then when it gets to a point that it's easy, I set it for a week, then I set it for a month, and I set it for multiple months. So now I have this incremental reminding so that I'll remember to do the thing and get this spaced repetition, whatever. It helps your memory. It's basically the only way, the best way to learn, the only way you can learn Emacs or Vim or any of these things that are infinitely deep is just small bites at a time. It's how you eat an elephant. So learning to read, let's learn to read here. Here's Harold. He's learning to read. That's fantastic. I actually wrote a blog post about this, learning to read. And it's mainly about fixing my focus and getting to a point where reading was more natural and comfortable to me, because I used to read a lot, and I can, very clearly see where that skill has fallen off. This was a very important book. Again, Amusing Ourselves to Death. It's talked a lot about the importance of reading and the power of reading. It also talks about writing, which is, up there. I was talking about the journaling. Journaling is extremely important, and that's part of why. So let's see. Focus of reading. Learning to be able to read, learning to be able to get that hard focus going, learning to get sucked into, I say learning, but it's like relearning, to get sucked into these books and to block out everything else that's going on. Because there's so many distractions, back up to the executive summary, there's so many distractions, and being able to absorb yourself in a book that requires a lot of brain meats to focus on and to imagine and to get inspired by is necessarily good for you. There's no like negative to it, basically, especially for the goals that we're trying to accomplish. So read until your eyes bleed. Yes, this was there's a lot of distractions, and focusing on a book was fantastic for that. And this was a success story, because at the end of the year, I got an audiobook I got a book that I was waiting for, and I realized that I accidentally reserved the wrong format, and it was the audiobook, and I groaned because I was like, I really wanted to read it in a book format, or ebook format in this case. So that was pretty cool. So 3D printed designs for the year. These were pretty interesting designs that I had fun making. First is the Kindle Light, so we'll talk about the Kindle in a little bit. Well, the sun's just destroying everything that I can see. This is the Kindle Light. has a little button on the bottom. You push that button, hey presto, and it's designed so that it fits on, and then once it fits on, it turns on automatically. Once you press it on, push it off just a little bit. It'll stay there but not be on. But once you push it down, it turns on. Kind of neat, fun, and that's it. Yeah, there it is. There, pretty hilarious. Also, it always reminds me. When I look at it, it always reminds me of this. Where is it? and, and this is me laughing at it. I love these cursed cat pictures. Love it. We'll talk about that later on. But more 3D printing designs. The cup holder thing. What is that? The cup holder, exact fitted to the exact phone with case. This fits into the cup holder, and then lets you sit your phone in there with room for charging. So pretty fun making that an SCAD. Next is the Corne paddles. That was these little side covers, paddle that fits over the key, and then this little side cover with the opening for the USB Type-C port. That's what's sitting on the side here. You can't, kind of hard to see, but it mounts on those screws at the base of the screen. Very nice. And, static protection and all that, which is a real thing. This was a fun little piece. I had a piece on the dryer break, and then you couldn't find a replacement part for it because they made all these different flavors and different versions and stuff like that. Like very minor modifications, and it was super annoying. So I was like, what if I just put a servo here and then mount it there? Oh, I have one. This was the motor. The motor fits onto the piece like that and then rotates. And then the idea was that I have this similar mount where this would mount on, and then I put the servo here and it sticks out and then rotates. So that was kind of fun. Not just saving money, but actually improving things. And this is my wife's favorite one. This is the spice, what do I call it? The spice rack. So she wanted to get the spices into a drawer, and then once they were in the drawer, every time you open the drawer, they'll shift around and everything. These are just little stands that are attached so that they would stay together. And it's all parametric, so we do that and make the height higher, or let's do more. Ooh, fit your drawer and all that. Hilarious. But this was a favorite 3D print that we use basically daily. It's always the little things. It's just great. That was all I had for now. For 3D print, that was cool. That was fun. Hardware for the year. I got this Dell CRT flat monitor. It's over here, but you can't see it. It has people have been talking about CRTs, and I lived through CRTs. I don't understand what the goal was or what the interest was, but I knew someone was interested and wanted to figure out why. So when I saw one that was a flat screen, I really back when CRTs were CRTs, the flat screen was my favorite because it was a lot harder to get reflections off of it. When you have the flat screen rather than the bulbous screen, it would always catch every bit of light behind you. It was super annoying. Just like this one is kind of doing right now, but the sun is shining directly onto it, but it doesn't matter. Anyways, frankly, I wasn't sure what to do with it. I just kind of got it and set it up, and I was like, okay, this isn't better. This isn't improving anything. And then I realized that I was doing stuff with the Cool Retro terminal, and the Cool Retro terminal really kind of made this, made it pop, putting it on this CRT screen where I can reduce the clarity. I did not misspeak. I'm reducing it. I'm making it more fuzzy. I'm making it look nastier. You see here. Got this. So check this out. This is my left screen. This is the Cool Retro terminal. And this is the middle screen here, the vertical screen, what it looks like. And then the CRT. It is fuzzier. It is brighter. The darks are darker. I can actually set the color balance to be greener, and it looks fantastic. And I can't really capture it on this screen, looking at a screen, recording a screen on a screen where your screen is recorded, and you're probably looking at it on a screen. So just trust me when I say that doing it for something where the darks are darker, or the blacks are blacker, or you really want color control, it makes a difference. The other thing is, it's a different experience writing on it. And I used it for a long time for just that, for just writing, because it put me into a writing mode. Now here I do lots of stuff on this screen. But this CRT was doing nothing except writing. It would just sit up through all these desktops. It would have the exact same thing on it the entire time. It was just for writing. And I would get up in the morning and, even just journaling on Obsidian, I'd just open it up in Emacs and write right there, right through the retro terminal. It's a different feel. It puts you in a different mood, and it escapes the regular stuff that you're always doing. So the ThinkPad. I had the ThinkPad X220 for a long time. It was really good, but it had worn out its welcome, and I was looking forward to getting something new, and kind of looking forward and not looking forward. I wound up settling on this ThinkPad X380, and I think it hit all the points that I wanted and had all the connections that I wanted. It is a fantastic piece of kit. It was actually so good that I wound up buying two. I had kind of a X200 for my wife, and she was kind of struggling through that, and it's great. It's fantastic. I always wanted a yoga. I do actually do some drawing. The whack do some drawing, and this has that supports that. It has touch as well, and the best support I think was on Debian. Yeah, Debian had everything right out of the box. To be frank, I didn't want to mess with it. Like, I didn't want to get it to work with Manjaro. I just put Debian on, tried it out. Ubuntu was okay. Debian actually had more support for some reason. I don't know. Yeah, no more chonkers. It's so slim and light to carry around, and the X220 had some problems with sleep. So this one, the sleep is fantastic. The battery life is fantastic. The keyboard is not as good. I'm not. There's no bones about that. The keyboard is not as good, but it is serviceable. It is usable, and I've used it for very long periods of time. It's just nice to be able to carry it around, have a screen that is big enough to be comfortable, and be able to type on it and just kind of pull it out, open it up, get some work done real quick, and then close it up and not worry about it. The Wacom pen is very good. The pen itself that it comes with is really not ergonomic, so I wound up building a caddy for it. This is pen fits in there. The tip sticks out this side. And these are tactile points for the buttons, because the buttons are completely flat. You cannot feel them at all. So having these buttons here, they stick out. They've got a little ball on them for feeling it, and then there's a little ball on the inside for pressing that contact point. And then this retention spot right here was very important for when you're drawing, so it doesn't pop vertically out, but it just snaps right in place with a little bit of flex from the plastic. Also had to reduce the thickness of the wall here in order to get it to flex better. But it's fantastic. I'm going to share this design pretty soon, I think. I don't think anyone's very interested, but still. It was a great caddy. It really makes a huge difference on the pen. Like, it makes it usable. Otherwise, you can't use the buttons. You can't feel them. You're just like constantly staring at it, rotating the thing to try to press the button. And then you press the button, and you didn't quite press it exactly right because they're very small buttons. So yeah, this is almost a requirement if you've got one of those tiny pens. I think that covered everything. Yeah, highly recommend the X380 Yoga. It's great and very inexpensive. So the Kindle. Part of this reading journey was implemented with this Kindle. This Kindle is amazingly unmodded. So this is all the stats for this exact model. I have done nothing to this aside from stick some keyboard stickers on the back of it. Thrift books. Thrift books is really good too. I forgot about thrift books. But this is fantastic. What am I recording? Not recording? Playback? Okay, there we go. I don't know what the keyboard was doing. The offline Kindle. This is a regular Kindle I bought used. I got it cheaper because it was in Chinese, and then I had to reset the language blindly because I gotta modify stuff. I gotta tweak stuff. I gotta save stuff. I don't like buying new ever. And then after I did, I was like, well, I gotta mod this, and this was not supported for any kind of mods, so I wasn't sure what to do with it exactly for a long time. And then I realized that I could use Calibre or Calibre. I'm not sure what the tool is, but Calibre will let me manage this device. And then once I could do that, I could start adding stuff to it. The screen is very good. From what I understand, there's more e-readers on the market now. They are more expensive and bigger for what this is, or actually for a single color, for a monochrome screen. I have read that the Kindle is the best. The Kindle Paperwhite is the best. Multicolor, the clarity isn't as good. That's kind of the big deal, is getting clear text on here and the battery life. And then this small form factor, having it small and handy, this will fit in most pockets. It's great. It's very useful. But I have not modded this at all. All I did was take it offline. And people don't know this, but there is actually, probably a lot of people know this, but people may not realize this, but you can actually download to USB and transfer the files using Calibre directly to this. Now there's also other things that you can do with Calibre that will allow you to own the thing that you bought, which is, who wants to own the thing that they bought? I don't know. Anyways, then you can start maintaining a library on here. The screen is fantastic. The ability to change the text size based on how much light you have or how your eyes are feeling that day. The Paperwhite, this matte finish is fantastic. This is an extremely good experience. And the only things I've done to mod it, essentially external mods, I put a little cut here, just a little mark that I can feel with my thumb to know where I need to press in order to advance to the next page. I've got this reversible Kindle cover, goes on back, and then goes on front, because I'll frequently just toss this in my bag, just have it around, throw around. I really don't know if the screen is very susceptible to being damaged, but I'm not looking forward to finding out. So that was the other thing, is when this side piece, side case, what words? I don't know what words. When the case is installed, this fits the diameter on this. So I didn't have to make a tight fit or anything. And if I don't want it to fit, or if I don't want this on, I can just remove the outer cover and it works. It's a little bit handier. It's pretty smooth. I kind of wish it was a little bit rougher, or I might make something that just has a little bit more grip on it, just so I could hold on to it a bit better. But it is actually so light that it's difficult to make any kind of modification to it. Just sitting like this, just holding it, cradling it like this is fantastic. Perfect. Yeah, another perfect thing. It's a good year. 2024 is a good year. 2024 is also 2025 is better only because it's 5 years away from 2020. Yeah, $30 aftermarket used, 4 gigs. You'll never fill it up. It's fantastic. It also does RSS feeds with Calibre. It's great. It's great. It's great. And you don't have to tweak it or mod it or anything. You just have to remove the Wi-Fi. That's it. You do have to register the device with Kindle, with Amazon first, and then you can take off the Wi-Fi and remove the Wi-Fi passwords from it. That way you can keep it offline and only interact with it using Calibre. Gym membership. I got a gym membership in September. It did not literally change my life, but it does make your body do better things. It's good. Breaking a sweat is good for you. There's a lot of books that I've been reading about how exercise is almost magical. We require, and this is in the book section, we require friction to improve, and our bodies do bad things when there's no friction. Like space people going into space and their bones or their muscles start to atrophy because they're not using them. This is all stuff that applies mentally as well. We need friction, we need difficulty, we need stress. And the gym membership is the way to externalize that. Highly recommend gym. Do gym good. Also, I have problems in the morning, difficulties, struggles, temptations, and having a place, it's a 24-hour gym, being able to just be like, hey, why don't I just run to the gym? Just work out the stress, work out whatever, work out the bad feelings, just like escape. It's fantastic. It's great. And like I said, working out is extremely good for you. I started off this year with a caffeine fast and it didn't do anything to me. So I started to wonder if caffeine was even like a thing, if it was necessary for me. And with the journaling, I was able to record all my findings and go back and review. And yes, it is very helpful. It's not necessary, but it's very helpful. And it's led me to some realizations. But I've been experimenting with caffeine, and it has been very, very revealing. So, kind of difficult, but also, just learning more about myself. This year, I'm 41. So, better late than never, I guess. Software. I'm sure everyone just skipped here. Don't worry, all the rest of that stuff I just said was very boring. Software. So, like I said, I've been trying to focus on the same things, not jumping to new software, thinking that it'll solve all my problems. I've been mastering Emacs. I've been working toward mastery of Emacs. Google Keep has been too useful for me to ignore. Being able to use the Android speech to text and write directly into Google Keep, and then, on my drive, and then I get in, sit down at the computer, open it up on Google Keep, grab the blob that I wrote, drop it in Emacs, and then run a program that formats it, and then put it into the journal. Fantastic. Beautiful. Wonderful. And Keep has very good search. So that's been pretty good. SeaMonkey is a browser and RSS reader and email and calendar based off the Mozilla engine. It's kind of a weird thing. It fits in really well. I'm mostly using it for the calendar because it integrates really well with Windows 10's notification systems. And it's a separate system that is not going to break because I'm, usually I have stuff in Emacs, but I'm also messing with Emacs a lot. And if I mess with my Emacs and I break my Emacs and I don't realize it, and then like a reminder fails, doesn't come through, then that's a problem. So having a separate software to do it works. The browser is also pretty lightweight. It's just kind of a classic style. It might just be nostalgia, but you might check it out. Having everything integrated into one thing where it's all just one system is nostalgic to the old days of browsers. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but it is useful and it is kind of interesting. I'd recommend trying it out. Games. I've been trying to play games instead of like be hyper productive and like be like always working all the time. So mental downtime is extremely important, and guilt-free quality leisure is important. And that was one of the Cal Newport books. But instead we have like this low quality leisure time that doesn't actually liege us. I don't know if that's a word. It is a word, I just made it up. So I've been replaying some games, replayed Half-Life. Fun, great. It's been a long time. Been playing Hell Let Loose, which is it's a dramatic experience. It's a traumatic and dramatic experience. I'll get sucked into it. It's very good. It's an extremely realistic shooter. If you're into realistic shooters at all, it's not even a shooter. Like, you could just drive a truck the whole game. But it's a squad style role based game where the roles actually matter and each role depends on another role. So you have to work together. You have to talk to people. You have to use your mic, and you have to get things done with a bunch of gamers. It's fun. There are some games that I've been playing on Xbox because you can get them cheaper on Xbox. Like, I've actually found stuff at GameStop used that was cheaper than I could buy online anywhere, which is kind of funny. But there's an Xbox Screen Share on Linux through Steam or as a separate piece of software. I think it's a flat pack, but that works great, especially on local network. I'll just be able to be sitting down here working on something, whip out a controller and be playing on my Xbox. Very little lag. Just Cause 3, I think, had more lag, but I'm also hardwired on that, so maybe not. It's very fast, very impressive. The games I'm playing on there, Just Cause 3, I didn't add that. It was late. Geometry Wars 3 is so great and so fun, and just very, very addictive game loop, and very, it's like a palate cleanser. Like I'll play it on breaks because you can play it for like a minute. Um, Fantastic game, highly recommended. Crackdown 1, played it a long time ago, playing it, replaying it, pretty fun. K Patience. So this is a card game. I was showing my kids some card games, and I was showing them Solitaire, and there was an old book that I had when I was a kid that I had never read this Solitaire portion because I was like, I know how to play Solitaire. Well, Solitaire is, the official name for Solitaire is Klondike. And this is Yukon, which the book says, don't play Klondike. You need to play Yukon. It's a lot better. And it is a lot better because you can actually win Yukon like a quarter of the time rather than Klondike, which is like never. Uh, so I'm reading the book and I'm like, oh, this seems kind of interesting. I've never played this before. So I started playing it, or I read the instructions with my son, and we went over it and set it up and played it. And I'm like, that was pretty fun. And then I found, moving giant stacks of cards around is very difficult. So doing it on the computer is a bit better. But this is a fun little, time waster, not really time waster, palate cleanser, I should say. Just a way to take a break, and not too kind of a low commitment way to take a break. So highly recommended. KPAT is the tool for the solitaire games on Linux, but there's lots of Yukon player things, whatever. Distros. Like I said, the X380 got Debian, and I am not sick of it. That's a big thing. This Ryzen box, the box I do most of my work on, is Stade. Okay, Stade. It's Stade Manjaro, and I'm slowly getting sick of it. I actually might rebuild it. There's little things that keep cropping up and causing problems. So I might just rebuild it. It's been running really well for years, and I thought about switching this to Debian, but I don't think I'll be able to. I think I might have to stay on Manjaro. The fact that I've been on it for so long is a very good indicator, because normally I get sick of it pretty quick, sick of any of the micromanaging. So Manjaro good, Debian good. I did a little bit of stuff with Ubuntu, but not much. Yeah, that's right. The upstairs computer got switched to Debian after I had the experience on the X380. Yeah, that was good. Debian's doing good stuff. Books. This year's books. Like I said, I've been focusing on reading and trying to read physical books if possible, audiobooks sometimes, and then ebooks increasingly. So good, lots of reading. Trying to get my reading up. Like I said, this book was just like, very eye-opening and a little scary. So I was like, I need to read. I must read. So Ichiq84 or Tenq84 or 1Q84, it's kind of a Japanese wordplay thing. But this book is the magnum opus of Murakami, and I had been wanting to read it, and this was the year that I read it. And it's a very thick book. It's actually 3 books, but I read it all the way through, and I finished it, and I didn't like peter out at the end. I just powered through it, and then once you get to like the third mark of the second book, I don't know, the books they go like this. It's really great, and as long as you're, what I was doing was just kind of building that reading muscle, and it worked. So Too Long did read. First person singular with some short stories from Murakami. Those were fun, and especially for short stories books, when you're like me and you're just relearning to read, it's easy to read a story and be like, I'm not feeling this one, and just skip, just move on. So the Wind Up Bird Chronicle is another 3-book set. It's very Murakami. It's very different. I got kind of annoyed with it about halfway through, and then I kind of came back to it. Like, it kind of stuck in my brain. It's a strange book. It's very interesting, but it's a little bit like, there's frequent times where I'm just like, come on, like chill out. All right. I get it. This is weird. Woo, whatever. And I would get a little sick of it, and then I would come back to it. So I'm almost done with it right now, actually, because I'm at that second cycle where I come back to it and get sucked in again. So Pride and Prejudice, I read while driving to Missouri. Read. audiobooked, and I really liked it. Hadn't read it in school, so it was cool. It was a fun book, and all the flowery language. I do enjoy the flowery language. And then the opposite of flowery language is the mill sci-fi pulp novel. That's rude. I shouldn't call it a pulp novel, but it was a book series. The last book was really good. By the end of it, like it was kind of cheesy, and I was listening to it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. And then by the end of the first book, I'm like, that was pretty all right. And then by the second book, I'm like, that was pretty good. And then the third book was like it's getting a little formulaic. And then the fourth book was fantastic. And then it made it to the I don't know if I want to spoil it, but they set up a sting operation with an alien restaurant, and it's kind of hilarious. And I had my eyes were rolling, but by the end, I was like, okay, I'm into this. Like I got invested in the characters, and they had good development, and they were separate individual characters, and they were really good characters. It was really well written. The characters were really well written, and the action was pretty fun. And you can kind of turn off your brain for some of it, like all the details of the whatever. But fun book, fun book series, recommended, easy. Alone at Dawn was an audiobook that was recommended to me. Very interesting about how a lot of the wars of the last few decades have been fought. Very interesting, and personal and all that. Terms of Enlistment was a book that I had purchased almost 10 years ago from a writer that I followed, and it was his first book. And we kind of had a little bit of a back and forth communication, but I found him again, and I was like, oh yeah, I still have that book. And I read it, and it was great. I highly recommend it. Help out a new author, and I don't think he's new now, but it was a really good book, and it was short, to the point. And then the end, it picked up speed real good and got me hyped for the next one, which they're already all out. If you just wait 10 years, you don't have to wait anymore. You can read them all. Binging is never really a good thing, but if you're learning to read or relearning to read, binging books is fine. Books on technology. I have a post on this. I don't know if I have a post on this or if I made that vlog about it, but Amusing Ourselves to Death is a must read. It's very dangerous. It's very scary. But it has very serious warnings. A lot of this is on the same vein. The Shallows by Nicholas Carr. That's a fantastic book. Very detailed, very well supported, very, very interesting, extremely interesting. Just the idea of how information has changed over the years, over the centuries. Really great. Almanac of Naval Ravikant is kind of a productivity thing, but it's also kind of like a where to focus your effort kind of thing. I don't think I have Atomic Habits. I don't know. Slow productivity should kind of be in here as well. But it kind of dovetailed well with the slow productivity idea. It's a short, weird book that kind of is mostly tweets, but whatever. Recommended. Sure, why not? Dopamine Nation is fantastic. It's along the same line of the Amusing Ourselves to Death. Dovetails very perfectly with the executive summary at the beginning. What is being done to us. This is something that is being enacted against us. We're being attacked by this. This is something that is happening in the Western world, and this is something that we have to control. And Dopamine Nation talks a lot about how it's happening, why it happens, and what to do about it, and how to stop it. Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow. It's another one of those books that I got sections into, and then it was like the Mastering Emacs book. You read a few pages, and then you have to think about it for a week. It's a very, very dangerous book, but it's very interesting about a lot of this, how we react and why we react, and how we have to avoid reacting like that. Very partially read, but very recommended. Topical books. So Mastering Emacs is a online ebook written by someone online. Highly recommended. Going through that one page at a time was very instructive and very it takes you on the journey of learning Emacs, and makes a lot of sense. Things are very well organized. Similarly, the O'Reilly Learning Emacs book is fantastic. Again, partially, I've only made my way through part of it. These older books are written for a time before people were trying to get shortcuts to escape the complexity. So embrace the complexity. Learn one bit at a time. Uh, Embrace the Emacs. Bobby Fischer Teaches Chess. That was a fun one. Very interesting and really got me, especially the end game stuff. Very good. I didn't really expect to learn much, but it was very practical. And it definitely changed the way that I see the board. How to Hide an Empire. This was a strange, kind of annoying, kind of really terrible. It was a terrible book to read because it talks about the history of the United States and how it treats its territories. And, it says How to Hide an Empire, but it didn't start, you know, in the beginning. But the idea that we're like annexing islands and then like taking away people's, like taxing people without representation. There might have been a tea party or two thrown in there, and then like attempted presidential, um, like really shocking. And I really enjoyed history in high school, and believe me, none of this was in it. Highly recommended. The author's kind of a weird guy, but still very interesting. Chip War was about chips in, well, today. Kind of weird formulaic writing, but very interesting. Interesting talk about all the characters and how things work together. Mere Christianity and the Problem of Pain, C.S. Lewis, popular books. Highly recommended for reading. Anything about, if you're new to Christianity, Mere Christianity is an excellent introduction. Problem of Pain is kind of interesting because with the perspective of Dopamine Nation and probably Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow, it kind of brings up pain as something that helps us. So the problem of pain, maybe it's the solution of pain. Think about that. Just for fun, this is the Linus Torvalds book about writing Linux, and unlike many other books, I do believe it was written by him. I mean, like the parts that are him talking are definitely, it sounds like he is talking. There's a lot of ghostwriting going on. This is actually very instructive and very interesting. Really revealing, actually. So it's a very interesting book. I'd recommend it. And compared to like I was, you can read I was and be like, yeah, a nerd wrote this. He wrote this. Someone probably edited it pretty good, but like the style and everything, it's a nerd wrote this. So, and I say that in a good way. I don't want, I want direct sources, primary sources as much as I can. So I do recommend I was. I do think there's a few spots he's missing or intentionally avoiding facts about, but for the most part, very interesting. Especially learning about how computing used to be done. Productivity. I don't know if Can't Hurt Me by Goggins really counts as productivity, but it definitely counts as, the pain problem. There's no problem in pain, man. It's just the pain. Go to the gym. Pain gain. And then Atomic Habits was pretty interesting. I had trouble really implementing much off of it. I might have to read it again. So this was productivity with an exclamation mark. This is productivity with a question mark. Should you be productive? Well, like I said, I had a what is it? Selective. Forget that I said that in the beginning. The selective inefficiency. I was being intentionally inefficient in some areas. So that's part of it. 4,000 Weeks is an interesting book. It really brings life into greater relief. I don't want to say that this is like, fight the man, anti-capitalist, socialism is better, lol thing. It kind of feels like it, but as you read it, you're like, okay, well, that's true. And okay, well, that's true. And I might not necessarily agree with that, but it's probably right in some respects. And it's a good perspective. Just the goal of life is not productivity. That's it. Bottom text. Slow productivity is more interesting and more respectful. of your time. That's also by Newport. I think he just needed another book to write after people were kind of turning away from the hyper productivity thing, which is fine. Follow the vein. But I'd recommend it. Cal Newport writes really good books, really interesting books. So manga. When I was getting started reading and needed just kind of that focus time, I wanted to get into some manga because the kids were getting into manga, and then I wanted to pre-read, and I realized that there were some that I did want to read. So I got into that. The library books have online checkouts for some of these mangas, and it was really good to do that. That's mostly how I read Battle Angel Alita. It was a fantastic series. There was a bit of eye rolling going on. It's beautifully drawn. It's still pretty beautifully written. Just the whole world building is unreal. It's fantastic. I didn't really like some of the characters in there, some of the digressions, but it was very interesting. Beautiful and violent and scary and amazing characters. And it really sucked me in. Highly recommended. And not a lot of fan service. It's actually, I really don't like fan service, which we'll get into here. But it was very light. It was very tastefully done, and it was in keeping with the character. It was really, really good. Really different characters, really good characters. Just fantastic. Perfect. There we go. I'll say it again. That's right. Perfect. The Ghost in the Shell human algorithm. Brilliantly written, great stories, perfect for the characters. I don't know how I feel about the style. There's almost no style. It's almost photorealistic. I feel like it loses something, but it is beautiful. It is beautifully directed. It's beautifully, like, I imagine them posing the characters in CG and then drawing over them or something like that, or using some kind of AI to draw it or something. I don't know. It's too perfectly drawn. I don't really like that, but it is beautifully directed and beautifully laid out. Some of the scenes are just like they burned into my head, even though I don't like the drawing. Just the layout of the scene was just perfect. Whew, very, very intense, very interesting. I don't know how I feel about the whole brain psychic thing, but not bad. Not bad. Pretty good. Pretty good. Very interesting. So these are the Ghost in the Shell Council has a whole bunch of different people on it, and there's different styles, and the style goes back and forth. If you read from the beginning, it was just a guy that draws anime of a nature that is starts with an H, let's say. And he was like, but I've got this other idea. So all of his drawing, all of his focuses, all of his scene layouts were all targeted toward focusing on proportions of the female variety. So that was a little tiring, but there was also some digressions of chibi style and funny character moments. Really good in the beginning, and then the next one, like, I forget what the next one was. It went hard in the fan service direction. I couldn't even read it. It was just crotch shots the entire time. It was like 90% crotch shots. I just laughed and then closed the book and didn't open it again. I've literally never read it. I love the Ghost in the Shell series. I've literally never read that. But then it gets to this series, which was a short manga series, I think four. And then it had, it brought back the art style. The anime is really good. Highly recommend the anime. I think I like the style. It kind of grew on me. I didn't like it initially, but the characters are very well expressed in it. The proportions are a little weird, but it's fine. It's good. And it's short. And it's very interesting and kind of honors the spirit of the series, I think. Whereas Human Algorithm kind of got away from it. In a good way in some ways. Never mind. I love Ghost in the Shell. Always have. For decades. So I have a lot to say about it. But I'm not going to. So, Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. I read this for my daughter who wanted to read it, and I was like, it's a little bit more grown up. Let me pre-read these for you. And I got sucked in. Like, I'm not gonna lie, there were some tears at the end. Like, I was sold on it. It was fantastic. Perfectly drawn, perfect characters, perfect tone, perfect pacing. It was just amazing, 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 amazing. Highly recommended. And My Hero Academia, it was recommended to me. I was rolling my eyes in the beginning, and then I got really sucked in. Again, the characters were just fantastic. So this was the stuff that I read to kind of get me back into reading. And there's more. There's more I want to read. And some of the stuff, like the elitist stuff, like some of those scenes are just, they're just burned into my brain. Beautiful, beautiful. And the characters changing and shifting, and watching someone who's just been an insane, crazy person for the entirety of the comic become reflective and express himself, and then realize that he doesn't want to leave this perfect world. He doesn't want to escape, because this is where he can really relax, where he doesn't have to live in that world, the very difficult, very hard world that the series is placed in. Really something. So that's it. This is the primary things. This executive summary. Focus on what you've got. Improve what you've got. Slow down. Be selectively and efficient. Develop the long time preference and master what you already have. You can do it. I believe in you. And I guess I'll see you in a year or something. I'll just awkwardly try to find my mouse cursor on the... Stopped recording? Is it stopped? It's not stopped.